People have rightly criticized the UI of Troy and subsequently Pharaoh. One thing it does do well, though, is communicate the tier of the unit in its icon, so you don't run into a situation like today, where this dwarf player probably doesn't realize that this is actually a chosen of Nurgle, and that this front line here is all marauders of Nurgle. We've got some plague toads here, exalted hero on horseback, Festus the Leech Lord, Chaos Poison Warhounds. And that's pretty much it up against the Dwarfs. So yeah, a couple Furies out here on the flank as well. And this Flame Cannon definitely should be priority targeting the Chosen, absolutely from the start, as should probably the regular cannon, to be honest, and all the artillery. I don't know, maybe the regular cannon should focus on the Soul Grinder, which I think is what it's doing. Got a couple of Slayers here as well, including the Dragonback Slayers, some Ekron's Miners, Ulthwar Raiders, and Thunderers. Up front, some Longbeards. And yeah, that's basically it. Belegar, the absolute Chad, is leading the way. Love that pick. Even if he's not the best, he's definitely the coolest. Has one of the coolest kind of decorative head/shoulder dress things. Anyway, that little runic icon thing he's got on his back, it's just so cool. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, you can see here that the flame cannons yeah. I'm doing okay. Anyway, Flame Cannon's going to be immediately targeting the Marauders of Nurgle, which again is it's a target you can shoot at, but definitely the Chosen should be priority target number one. But because all the banners look the same in Warhammer, you can't tell the difference at a glance until you actually mouse over the unit and read what it's called. But the Furies are going to make an attack run here to try and disrupt. We see the Soul Grinder also firing in here with the Plague Mortar. We'll get some damage on this blob. Speaking of blob, Exalted Hero just dove straight into this blob and is now suffering pretty badly. The Ulthar's Raiders, people forget how much missile damage these guys do up close. They're going to put the hurt on that poor Nurgle champion, who definitely deserves it. But again, forces a nice blob for the Soul Grinder to fire into, and cannon's also been effectively shut down. The Flame Cannon also gets shut down by a really nice flank attack, shooting the gap here with these Warhounds. It's going to shut them down, and critically, this Chosen, this rank 4 beautiful Nurgle Chosen, will be able to get into combat without getting hit by any of these missile units, really. So a pretty ideal circumstance for Nurgle in that way. But other things are not going so well. The damage on that Exalted Hero is definitely pretty painful. Marauders are also trading decently, as are the Toads. But Toads are also a little bit squishy at times. Festus is going to try and sustain this blob here as best he can. But we'll see. He's also danger close to... Oh no, Belegar's over here caught up in this blob of Marauders. Okay, so that's fine for the time being. Get those Chosen in there and just start to fight it out here with these Longbeards in the front line. Definitely not going to threaten Chosen at all in melee, so they'll be able to just slowly start grinding through the Beards here. Meanwhile, Marauders disrupting the back line, forcing away a lot of these missile units. The Slayers forced to respond here. We do get a Fleshy Abundance on the Exalted Hero. Is going to pop Heroic Killing Blow as well, charge into Belegar, but Belegar's got pretty good defensive stats. Going to have no problem holding his own in this fight for some time, maybe even just beating the Exalted Hero straight up. I mean, actually, they do have pretty close stats. You would think that the Exalted Hero's better HP on horseback and armor-piercing damage and poison and everything else would help him win that fight, but I don't know. Something tells me Belegar maybe just going to win, maybe on faster attack animations? I don't know. Hard to say. But anyway, taking a look at the rest of the battlefield here, Chosen are just, again, completely undisturbed, have not even lost a single unit model yet. Blasting charges are going to get set here and try and blast these Marauders out of the way, and of course, Dwarven leadership in heavy armor does allow them to sustain this assault to a certain degree and get away with at least some units. Get a nice big old glorious rot here as the damage effect, of course, and is going to spread between these different targets. That army ability, it'll do some damage for sure, but those blasting charges are certainly making the day of these poor Marauders just so sad. Speaking of which, Soul Grinder also getting pretty sad that it's about to run out of ammunition. Has got quite a bit of damage done, but it's going to take some time to close the distance, but basically almost paid for itself purely with its ranged attack, so that's pretty nice. That said, Nurgle's getting real thin on the ground, other than the absolute Chad Chosen, which are basically still completely healthy. Gonna take some throwing axes in the back here from those Ulthuar's raiders. The Warhounds will come in and try and disrupt that, stop that from happening, get those Thunders out of the way. All those Slayers should help defend. Ulthuar's raiders also, that lack of armor, they're somewhat vulnerable to a mass hound attack like that, but it looks like the reinforcements will be able to bail them out. They have a lot of ammunition left, so definitely could be a big problem for the Chosen, especially as Rangers are fast enough to kite Chosen. Yeah, even at poison, they're still the same speed, so the Nurgle's speed buff to all their mortal units, the removal basically of the speed debuff from Mark of Nurgle in alongside 3.0 was definitely nice. It helps Nurgle quite a bit in this matchup, but still can be a tough one at times just due to Dwarfs' own resilience and their very strong missile units, both of which tend to be counters to a degree to Nurgle. Exalted Hero completely caught up here as well, but yeah, the Soul Grinder now finally closed the distance. There's plenty of Slayers around, though, so it's got to be careful. The Slayers actually just, like, went out, intercepted. They've been chasing it all the way to this pile, but what this means is now the Chosen are going to be fully and effectively surrounded. Of course, they've got the Soul Grinder fighting with them, but still, well, maybe. We'll see if the Slayers actually choose to pick up this engagement or not. We do have some Marauders coming back in, though, and the Poison Warhounds. Festus gets tangled up here with Belagor and surrounded by Slayers. And this is going to be a obviously very bad situation for him to be in. And with his healing gone, the Chosen of Nurgle will probably have a lot more issues. But let's see if he's able to hold out, if I can get his health bar to stay up. Yeah, he's definitely not feeling great about the whole Belagor situation. Meanwhile, the Exalted Heroes heal capped, still hanging around somehow. Probably honestly hasn't generated all that much value. And Belagor finally routs Festus, so Chosen are basically on their own for now. I mean, the Soul Grinder is definitely going to help out, but Soul Grinder kind of getting caught away from the Chosen is a little bit painful. If you can, I might just force path it to sit directly on top of the Chosen. That way it's not getting surrounded and taking so many hits. And big Chosen can help, you know, kind of sustain that engagement, sustain that damage, while the Soul Grinder also helps dish it. But anyway, it's going to be a big old clash of great weapons here. I guess Dwarfs don't have too many great weapons besides their picks. It's mostly just Longbeards left, but you know who is just a great weapon in and of themselves? That's right. It's Belagor, who's also still fighting here. Just finished off Festus, actually. Delivered the righteous strike of his hammer. And with Festus down, that's going to send the Soul Grinder into a demonic instability, which is pretty unfortunate. Still had a decent amount of HP, like, yeah, over a quarter of its HP left, so see if it can recover its leadership. It looks like it does momentarily. We see Fecundity cast as the army ability. For Nurgle, of course, going to heal all these units slightly. Stabilizes the leadership just barely a little bit, but the Exalted Hero is also not feeling great about this situation. Belagor comes to get an attack on him. Soul Grinder is going to try and respond to Belagor, but it's too late. Well, not actually too late. Exalted Hero just pulls away there, it looks like. Although maybe should have stood and fight alongside the Soul Grinder. He's going to kind of wheel up and around, try and get a rear charge here, but yeah, it takes a little bit of a roundabout way. Also kind of gets intercepted by Slayers and takes a couple of hits from Belagor there. Soul Grinder still suffering instability. It's just about done. Going down now below 1,000 HP. Chosen. And these Chosen Nurgle are just, they might be able to carry this literally all by themselves. We'll see. This is going to take some time, so we'll choose to fast forward now, as the Chosen do get properly surrounded by Dwarfs here. Belagor is going to get in here, and really, I mean, Belagor having good enough armor-piercing damage, and especially with the Chosen of Nurgle being exhausted, he can definitely do some decent splash damage here. Let's see how many hits it takes for him to work down this one Chosen. Oh, he finally finished him off there. So even though the rest of the Dwarf Infantry aren't really doing a whole lot, they're mostly just glorified meat shields here at this point. Exalted Hero comes back up and around for another rear charge, but thankfully there's quite a few Slayers for the Dwarfs, who will be obviously unbreakable, so they're not going to rout. And yeah, they just continue fighting until the end of time. So let's see, can Man, is he actually cycle charging with the Slayers too? That is a big brain move. Slayers with 26 charge bonus. It's pretty considerable for infantry units, actually. And on 48 attack, 49 weapon strength, that extra little bit of charge bonus definitely helps. They've got Death Blow active. I love to see that Slayer cycle charge in the late game. That is Dwarfs versus Nurgle in a nutshell. There's a handful of Longbeards in here as well still. And slowly but surely, the Nurgle Chosen are getting ground down. They're even wavering now. The Exalted Heroes, again, staying here. I don't know if it's a micro mistake or what exactly. Staying at a distance allows the Chosen to get routed there. Who knows? Maybe if he would have charged in, got a couple of attacks on Belegar, could have maybe swung things. But Belegar's such a Chad with expert charge defense, 60 melee defense, 120 armor. He's really not going to take much damage very quickly. The Dwarfs are able to just survive, so despite that initial kind of target priority mistake with the Flame Cannon, it turned out okay. Dwarven Resilience is able to just hold out in the end. Yeah, but it's an interesting one for sure. You know, again, I think it would be nice for Creative Assembly to devise some way of distinguishing tiers of similar units, like have maybe a slightly different icon for Chosen versus Marauders versus, you know, Chaos Warriors, but regardless, it was a fun one. Big thanks to Stefano for sending this one in. And overall, I have to say, very happy with the Chosen's performance, obviously. How could you not be? 425 kills, 26,000 damage dealt, 2,400 damage value. Absolutely insane. That Soul Grinder also is pretty nice. I almost think here, just cut the Exalted Hero of Nurgle and get a second Soul Grinder, and that's probably, honestly, going to benefit you more. Toads also for Disruption are decent, but they're not, I don't know. They're a little bit squishy in this matchup. The Marauders can do decently, certainly, and some of the Warhounds getting in the key targets is, of course, very, very important. But, yeah, credit to Pentalinade here for holding out with his Dwarven formation. Flame Cannon gets some value, just overall decent spread of value across most units. The RORs especially, 1,111, absolutely beautiful symmetry there for the Ekron's Miners, and then 1784 for the Dragonback Slayers. Very impressive stuff, honestly. Almost 2,000 for Belegar also. Nice few key units there for the Dwarfs. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.